Did you know that for this movie, the party scene near the end of the movie runs 42 minutes long? It was shot over the course of 21 days, from the time the sun set to the time it rose. After it wrapped, the crew had t-shirts made that read "I survived scene 118, which was the name of the scene during shooting. The cast and crew jokingly called it the longest night in horror history. So with it being fall and Halloween coming up really quickly, everyone's watching their favorite spooky movie, favorite horror movie, and I'm not the biggest horror movie fan, but the one horror movie franchise that I always go back to is Scream. I love the original Scream movie a lot, and I have 3 things that I love about this movie, and the last thing is definitely my favorite. First thing I love about this movie is just the fresh take on the horror genre that this movie does. This movie tackles the horror genre in such a completely different way, a very meta way. Scream is the result of your knowledge of horror movies. You know, it's predictable, like, you know, the characters even saying the predictability in the movie. They're saying, you know, of course it's going to be this person, of course you shouldn't go down in the basement by yourself, of course you shouldn't do this. And then it's made into a movie. Like, I think it's a very genius move by the late great Wes Craven to make up a horror movie like this, because it's never been done before, and this is why the Scream movie and the Scream franchise is so popular and successful. It makes you think about the horror genre in a completely different way, not like your typical slasher movie that's pretty predictable. This one is not predictable. Like the Scream movies, every single time you always try to guess who Ghostface is. You never actually know who it is. All the other horror movies in the past, you know who it is. Like, it's established early on. Not with Scream. It's always the big twist. It's always the big reveal. That's what just really gets me into movies like this. And also, as the 90s, horror movies were not super popular in the 90s for some reason. According to some people, the horror genre was dying, and because of Wes Craven, the horror genre kind of was brought back to life and really just brought the love of horror back to the people. And now we have horror movies like every other month. It's crazy. This movie is it's just so intriguing from start to finish. Second reason I love this movie is I love the characters in this movie, but also there's some pretty great horror violence. The characters are just so relatable. Like, they're more relatable than most characters in horror movies. Like, most of the characters in horror movies, they're always going through some crazy ordeal that nobody can relate to. In this movie, people can actually relate to the characters. They can actually understand what the character is going through. And it's based more on just reality. It's based on your friends. How well do you know your friends? Can you trust your friends? You know, the whole small town thing. Like, everybody knows everybody. Gossip travels fast. The killer is most likely going to be someone who lives in that town. Then the characters are just great. Like, they're very well written. They're very well fleshed out. We got Sidney Prescott, and now she's like a horror icon because of this movie. We got Dewey. We got Gale Weathers. We got Stu, we got Billy, we got Randy. I mean, we got some really great characters in this movie. And each one of them is very important and very integral to, like, the overall legacy of Scream. Not just this first movie, but the legacy of Scream. They all had to start somewhere. The violence in this movie is very, I think at times it's actually over the top. Like, slasher movies are always like, there's always some crazy kill scene in the slasher movie, but I gotta say, Wes Craven took a lot of inspiration from just like past horror movies, and he's like, okay, how can I make it even crazier? How can I kill people in strange ways? First murder in the beginning of the movie was just over the top. Like, just like the display at the end of that scene was always crazy to me. But then one death scene in the movie that always just such a strange way to go out is, I don't remember what her name is, but she gets her neck broken by the garage. Like, she gets trapped in the garage door. Ghostface opens the garage and she gets her neck broken. He didn't even have to stab her. He just let the garage do his work for him. Like, who thinks of things like that? Like, who thinks of violence like that? And at the same time, as nasty and as disgusting as it is, it's something that people are like drawn to. And my favorite scene in this movie is definitely the reveal at the end. It's just one of those reveals that is just so good. Like, I just love plot twists. I love horror movie plot twists specifically. What I also loved about the reveal is it was more than one person. See, that's another thing that this movie does so well. It's never multiple killers. Most of the time, there is only one killer, and then the movie franchise is around that one killer. So, you know, we got Billy and then we got Stu, and they're like two peas in a pod. Their chemistry on screen is really, really good. It's great. It's like, they're both crazy, yes, but one of them is more maniacal and one of them is more just like the psychopath, calm psychopath crazy. Like they work really well with each other, and how you can tell who's the leader and who's kind of the follower in the relationship. They have such a unique relationship, and there's a couple points in the movie where it's like they almost have like a dating relationship. I mean, they don't, but it almost seems like the way they interact with each other, it's almost like they're both so deranged and messed up. Like they fell in love with each other's messed up and derangedness, and that's why they're the perfect team up. I just love this movie. It's so good. So for Scream, I'm gonna give it a 7.5 out of 10 Mudflaps. And remember to leave me a thumbs up and drop in the comments below, what is your favorite horror franchise? See you next time.